Good morning, and welcome back to the Am Mentality Podcast. This is an episode of Coffee with Khalipa where we dive into something that I'm thinking about this upcoming week, and we're drinking some coffee while we're doing it. Now, I hope everybody's having a phenomenal week. It's Tuesday. We're ready to rock and roll. I was thinking about something. I finished a workout early this morning, and I was reflecting on the workout just real quickly before I moved on to my next segment, which is obviously talking to you guys. And I was thinking to myself, self-sabotage was the subject that I just kind of came in my head. I was like, man, this week I got to remind myself what that means and not to do that. And I know there's people out there going to be able to relate to this message, so I wanted to make sure I shared it with you. And if it does relate to you, please message me. Let me know how it made an impact, if at all. So in 2010, I was competing in an event called the CrossFit Games. And one of the events was called Amanda, and it incorporated two really complex movements. One was called a snatch, one was called a muscle up, pretty complex. And that night, we had just moved into the Home Depot Center. The lights were on, the jets flew over, national anthem played, and I was just on a whole nother fired up level. I mean, I get pretty fired up on this podcast, but I was on a whole nother level, right? And sure enough, the workout starts. I'm pretty much contending for the lead. And then with only a few reps left, I just fall apart. I completely fall apart. My body turned numb. I was overzealous about it. And I ended up literally just passing out on the floor of this place for a long time. Buddy of mine had to come pick me up, carry me onto a golf cart, and then drive me to my car. And I didn't drive, obviously. And, I was reflecting on that. I was like, man, that was a really tough time in my life, right? And sure enough, a couple weeks ago, I competed in an event called the Rogue Invitational. And the event they decided to have as like a reunion for a bunch of these guys that they called the legends was that workout Amanda. And so when it was first announced, I was like, oh boy. And, kind of put a little, pit in my stomach. I was like, oh man, this is going to be, I was anxious, right? Because the last time I had done that workout in a competitive setting, I had failed miserably. And I started saying to myself, hey, this is a whole nother year. This is 10 years later. I'm not the same person I was. I learned so much from that experience, so much. And I reminded myself not to self-sabotage, not to be one of those guys who allows their past to dictate their future. And it was something I wanted to share with you today, because if you went through something in your life and maybe that situation comes back up again, just because it happened once doesn't mean it'll happen again. You're not the same person you were. And I had to remind myself that I'm not the same person I was. I had developed a whole different mindset after competing for so long after that event. And that event laid the foundation for a lot of what I learned for the future. I'm grateful that happened. But going into this event, I told myself, don't self-sabotage. Utilize this as an opportunity to really allow that to become the past. So I went into the workout, and I was in Philadelphia, and I found a gym, jumped in there, practiced the workout, built up my confidence, told myself what I needed to do. And sure enough, I show up at the event and I performed to my expectation. And now reflecting back on it, that was really cool because I can almost like bookend that experience. One time I did it, it was terrible. Next time I did it, I stayed in control, I consoled it, and I was able to thrive through that event. And it just reminded me that there's a lot of people that are in their gym that perform great. And then all of a sudden when they're in competition, they self-sabotage. Or perhaps you're really good at what you're doing, but when you get in front of an audience or when you're in a big meeting, you find a way to tell yourself you're not worth it, or tell yourself that it's something's not right, and you self-sabotage it. And I felt that coming on for this event, but I reminded myself that I earned the confidence. I had the background. I learned from that previous experience, and that would not happen again. And so I hope all of you guys who are in a situation where maybe something challenging happened and you're going into a new situation that's something similar, just because that was the past doesn't mean that's going to be what's going to happen today. So get out there, exactly what I told myself, stay calm, stay collected, stay in control. And when you're done, you're going to be so grateful that you put yourself in that position again, because now the past is really the past and you can focus on the next thing. Guys, I really hope that you guys like these episodes. I just come on here and talk about the things that are going on in my head and how I'm going to take that into my life in each different situation that comes up. If you like them, please rate, review, share with a friend. Would really appreciate that. And also, if you haven't checked out our partners at BUBS Naturals, they make some awesome MCT powder, collagen that I throw in my coffee every day. Gets me even on another level that I'm already currently at. And if you want to visit their website, it's bubsnaturals.com/Jason for a 15% discount. Guys, hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up wherever you can. Have a phenomenal day. Have a phenomenal week. Let's keep rising the tides. And I look forward to checking up again with you guys next week for another episode of Coffee with Khalipa.